Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we have a little quick update on those new hopper cars. Last time we weathered them up from new shiny plastic to highly weathered cars, but now we need to build some loads for them to carry. Back in this old video from about a year ago, I showed you how I made a silicone mold of a coal load and then made it into a gravel load. Just like we did in the previous video, I start by mixing up a 2-part epoxy and adding a little bit of color. This time I'm using an orange paint. And then we pour it off into the mold, hit it with a little flame that pops some bubbles, let it set.
A few moments later.
Come back and we just pop it out and trim off the flash. And just then you gotta let the resin sit for another day or two just to let it completely cure and harden up. Now it's time for some mass production, as none of these new 6 cars comes with any loads. And I'm gonna try a little different technique to see if I can speed up the process. So once I have everything primed black and it's dried and cured, I start with a series of dry brushes, working from a light brown up to a final super light dry brush of a parchment color, which is not quite pure white, but brighter than an off-white. All this preparation was due to the fact that I wanted to try my Army Painter speed paints and see if I could get it done in one step. So I started with Ashen Stone. It's a gray color. It makes really nice looking rocks and you have a lot of detail, but it took quite a bit more paint than I had figured it would to get full coverage. And then once it dried, it looked very flat. I couldn't see any details at all. So I decided to try Sand Golem, which is a sandy color, to give me some brown shade in the deep parts of the rocks. I did come back in with a paper towel just to remove some of the excess paint on the top layers, hoping that then that white would start to shine through and would give me that lighter tonal variation between the deep pockets and the tops of the load. Coming back and comparing it to the older loads that I made last year, it looked way too orange and didn't match. Third try was to brush paint some of that cheap craft paint, color is called Latte, and then do a light dry brush of that same off-white parchment color. It was close, but it wasn't quite right. So I decided, all right, we're going back to square one. I'm just going to take a medium brown color, run it through my airbrush, and take everything back to just a basic light brown undercoat. And that kind of put me at the same spot I was before when I had the gray primer and the brown oil paint, except I didn't have any white on the top. Once the basic brown was completely dried, I came back with that off-white latte color, and I just dry brushed that, almost an overbrush, and like I said, another light coat of the old parchment. And I think when you compare that with the original load, it gave me a pretty good copy. If I had started right there, these would have all been knocked out in probably 2 hours or less. So in conclusion, I would just like to say, you should never be afraid of experimentation with different ways to get to the same endpoint. Actually, all 3 methods have a lot to offer, but the speed paints did not live up to my needs at this small scale. I needed them to have a little more contrast between the dark and the light colors. Like I said before, keep an eye out now for these fully loaded hoppers. They'll be running on the layout sometime soon. And until next time, happy model railroading.